All right, everybody, we're down to the wire now. So we're at our last step in getting our sequence ready to view as a movie. And that step is what we normally refer to as compositing. And compositing is where we take all of our images that we've created, excuse me, in this case, all of your rendered frames, and we compile them together into a linear timeline where we can hit play in a movie player, QuickTime, or Windows Movie Player, and have our movie play. You can see all of the result of our hard work. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. They're both relatively easy. And I'm going to show you two ways to compile your rendered frames. One is by using Photoshop, and the other is by using the QuickTime 10 player. Both of them are really pretty straightforward, so this should be a really short video. So here I've got, should have had this queued up for you so you could see it. Here we go, week 15 compositing. So I've got a sequence of frames here, and these are, I've got it in a couple different flavors. These are all Targa frames. There's 240 of them, essentially, because it starts with frame 0. And then I have them in JPEG. So I've got two different versions of this, and we'll be using the JPEG version just so that you can compare one to the other. So we got those all rendered out, ready to go. What I'm going to do is, in Photoshop, I'm going to hit the open, go to File, and hit Open, just like if I was going to open an image file that I'm working with. Go to the JPEG folder, and then that opens this folder, and I'm going to click on the very first file in the sequence. So there's we have to do this two different ways, one for each of the applications. In this case, I have to click on the very first file, and then as you look down here below format, we've got a little checkbox that says image sequence. So we want to check that. Now I'm on a Mac right now, and normally this options box would be closed, so I wouldn't see that option to pick the image sequence. But if I click on options, it brings up, you know, a bunch of additional information, and we do have the option to go to image sequence. If you're using Photoshop on a Windows machine, you don't have to worry about that options button. The option for image sequence is right there on the open window. I'm going to select image sequence, and Photoshop's going to look down this list and look for all of the files that are named similarly and numbered sequentially. So it will go ahead and open all 240 of these for me. I'm going to hit open, and then it's going to ask me what my frame rate is. Now I animated this at 24 frames a second, so that's the rate that I want to render this to. If I were to go faster, if I were to go to 30 frames a second, the sequence that I'd spent a lot of time animating at 24 frames a second would actually play a lot faster because we're going through more frames every second. If I were to do it at 12 frames a second, it would be twice as long. So we want to match the frame rate that we're asking the compositor to do with the frame rate we animated at, and that's 24 frames a second. So I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to go ahead and open up this file for me. And here it is. And this is just a little piece of animation I did for a game that I was working on years ago. But here's what it looks like. We've got this guy, and the pixelation is just so that it plays back in real time. Photoshop is making sure that it plays back all the frames in real time. So we've got the handle pull, the pickle spins, and then once it comes to stop, the ant applauds you and goes back and then gives you a thumbs up. So that's the whole sequence. Once I've got the frames in here, all I have to do now is go to File and Export, and then we're going to go to Render Video. And click on that, and it gives me a number of options. This is my Render Video window. So I'm going to call this Comp Shop so that we can identify them on my desktop. It's going to go right to my desktop. You want to look at the media encoder here. your format should be H.264. That's a great compression routine. It reduces the file size dramatically while not creating any artifacts or crushing out any colors that you may want to keep. Preset should be at high quality. We're going to leave it at the same document size. And you can verify your frame rate again here one more time, 24 frames a second. If you need to change it, you can. If you forgot to get it when you imported, it's really easy to do, skip past that. But you also have the option to go 24 frames a second here if you need to. And then the range is all frames. And we're just going to hit render. And we're going to get this little progress spinner and a progress bar. And when that goes away, it's done. And we'll go out here to our desktop. And here's our movie. Right there. And we hit play. And there he goes. So this is what you're going to upload to the assignment. You're going to upload your rendered, composited clip of animation. That's what's going up to the assignment. And we could loop this if we wanted to watch it some more. If we want to watch it through a few times. This is really great too. Once you render this, I can't recommend this strongly enough. Put it on your phone, put it on your tablet, take it around, show it to your friends and family. They'll be very impressed. I promise you. They're going to go, oh my God, man, that's so cool. So there's that's the Photoshop route. That's the way you do it in Photoshop. While we're in QuickTime Player, we can also use QuickTime Player. If you hit File, you can go down here under Open Image Sequence and click on that. And then we'll navigate to our whoops, that was my bad. We're going to open Image Sequence, and I'm going to select my desktop, and we're going to go to Compositing and Comp Frames, and then I'm going to come way down here to JPEG again. And then with QuickTime, you have to actually select all of the frames in the sequence because it's not as smart as Photoshop is. So I'm just going to make sure I select all the frames in my sequence, hit Choose Media, and again, we'll get a little prompt. And we want the resolution to stay actual size. We're going to change this frame rate back to 24 frames a second. And encode for greater compatibility, that's H.264, which is what we wanted in the other one as well. And we're going to hit OK. And it'll open up this video for us. And there he is again. And if we hit play, we can see that the frames are all sequenced again and turned into a movie file. Now, this isn't a movie file yet. It's just the composite of all of our frames. So what we need to do is we're going to come up here to File, and we're going to do a Save. And we're going to go to the desktop, and we will save it as Comp QT. Comp QT. And then save, and it will write it out for us. This one we can close, and then we'll come over here. We'll open this guy up. And there we go. And that one's working too. So we've got two options here. We've got our Photoshop. We'll get both of these rocking at the same time so you can see that they're, yeah, we don't want to do that. We get both these going at the same time so you can see that they look pretty much the same. As soon as that one plays through once. Here we go. Ready? Go. You can see they're a little out of sync, but they're pretty much the same thing. And yeah, we're good to go. Now, as far as file size goes, the Photoshop version is 4.3 megs, and the QuickTime version is 1.4 megs. So even though they're basically the same file, the QuickTime export makes a smaller QuickTime movie. So that could come into consideration when you're deciding exactly which one of these tools to use. It's up to you, but there we go. There are the two techniques for compositing frames in to create a movie that you can play. Real quickly, it's been fantastic having you in class this semester. Really enjoyed working with you. Very much looking forward to seeing your final composited piece. Please remember that your final shot needs to be animated, lit, rendered, and composited. Play blasts are not ideal, and you need to meet all of those criteria in order to get the maximum amount of credit for your work. So please be sure to give yourself enough time to finish up strong. And again, it's been terrific having you in class. I hope to see you in the more advanced classes in next semester. And please enjoy the break. And if you have any questions at any time, whether you're in a class of mine or not, please feel free to stop by my office, drop me an email, give me a call on my office phone. Always happy to talk to students. And my policy is, once you've taken a class with me, you can ask me a question about anything at any time. So take advantage of that if you feel so inclined. And once again, I hope to see you in another class next semester. Have a great break.